Hello and welcome to Talking Dogs on a Monday. And as it happens, we've got plenty to discuss. This week, of course, we'll be focusing on the opening round of the Con and Annie Kirby Memorial. And we have our two usual guests. Well, one of them, not so usual, PC, Paul Cooney, the main man down at Limerick. He's part of the furniture down there. What he doesn't know about Limerick Greyhound racing, well, it's not worth knowing. The main man at the Nina Guardian. Paul, great night on Saturday night. Pretty much, a real sort of taster as to what's to come. It's going to be an unbelievable competition.
Yeah, look, we think we know what to expect every year, at this stage. Yeah, we kind of do. We got most of what we expected the other night. The stupid fast time, we got the come from behind winners, we got the surprise knockouts, we got everything. Well, it's just great to have it. It's just great to have it back.
Yeah.
Huge big downer, this time last year. We're all going into bloody lockdown, and of course the one thing we lose is the Kirby. But it was at the real wrong time, the first nationwide lockdown, so you can fully understand how it had to be called off at the time. It was just, we could assess, we could look forward after we were in lockdown and see when will we run the Derby and run this and all that, but the Kirby was just the real wrong time.
Yeah, it really was a victim. It was a victim of timing, shall we say. Yeah. We'll get into that a little bit later on. Tommy Lyons, the exiled dub, of course, joining us also. Tommy, Paul is right. It was just the very wrong time last year. We missed the Kirby. It's great to have it back, and by all accounts, it's coming back with a bang.
Everywhere to go now, whether it be a greyhound track or a horse racing track, everybody's talking about almost a year ago, like a little over a year ago, when they missed this meeting and missed that. Yeah, it's pretty, and you know what? It's still hard work to be going to these tracks. We're lucky to have racing in both codes, but it's pretty difficult. It's kind of soul destroying, because you think of all the people who are missing out, like the owners in particular, who are missing out and not being in there to see all these good dogs running. We started the year pretty well with what we've had around the country in terms of the quality of the dogs that have been running, and this is just going to bring us through the next 5 weeks. Plus, we have a couple of additional competitions coming up over the coming weeks that are going to overlap. So, look, the beauty of it is that we're in a good position in one way, and then we're just hoping that what we can do is keep ourselves entertained with high class greyhound racing that'll get us through until such a time as everybody's back again, and we'll have some semblance of normality. So, it's has the makings of a cracking contest. I didn't come away from Saturday night knowing what the winner was, though. nor much nearer than before it, to be honest.
Yeah, I'd still have an educated guess. Paul, you mentioned it yourself. Normally in these sort of reviews, we get to mention a few races, a few starts, and then we get to the bang, the first big run, the one run that really catches the eye. We've said it a few times over the last couple of days. Explosive Boy really did live up to his name. It was sensational. It was just the most unbelievable way to start the competition. I suppose there was people at home holding vouchers going, I'm after backing the track record. I'm at a winner here. Explosive Boys after doing 20.08 in the first. There's plenty to come that can go faster, but nothing got close to him if you actually even looked at the splits. Like, he does a 4.08, which is unbelievable, and he does a 15.87. Can you remember anything ever doing better than 15.87, Paul?
No, and I was very near ringing one of the boys. Now, Liam Shattuck be the man. I don't think so. I remember Taz was 95 when she done the big run at the start of the last Kirby. We've had 93. I could go back actually on my blog. I must do, but I think 87 is probably the record.
Yeah.
I will confirm it as it goes, but you kind of weren't braced for it. Even though I suspected it out of Explosive Boy. I really did. I thought with the draw anyway, I thought he was a stonewaller the other night. Really did. It was a tough heat, but just with the draw and what I wrote was, with the time he's likely to do if he breaks, you can't come from behind him. He's been prepared, obviously been prepared with this in mind, and he's taken a different kind of a route. And you'd never question Pat Kilfile in his thinking or his preparation or anything. And I knew it when I seen him going for the sprints in Thurles. That's when I knew, right, okay, he's going there to teach this dog a few things, because his braking was a little bit hit and miss. He's got the early pace. This fella's going to get into real bother at the first bend in the 5-2-5 when he doesn't hit the box, when he doesn't hit the lid. And over to Thurles for open sprints to teach him how to behave at the first bend when he's got dogs around him. And he ran 3 sprints over there. And I knew it. I knew at the time this is what he's doing. He's educating this fella. This fella's been primed, like. And so I was in no way surprised with the run the other night.
Of course, Pat, he did have the smarts to bring him back for a 4-bend contest around Limerick. We saw the preview last week. This week, though, it was near perfection, Paul. Like, can he better it? That's the question. You know, yeah. I'm not going to question Pat. I've no question that the dog might have room to maneuver in terms of improvement, but it was just to the eye so perfect.
Oh yeah, it was perfect. But like, he is a sweet galloper if you've been following him. You know, even when he was struggling going to the line in Shelbourne's Hay. Like, he's still a sweet mover, a gorgeous galloper around the bends, and yeah, look, like you say, can he improve it? Like, you don't have to improve on perfection, you know.
That's true. Yeah. Like, that's what my wife always says to me.
You have to improve, like the rest have to improve to come up to him if he keeps repeating it. Yeah. No, keep repeating it. That's the one thing saying that, and another thing doing it. But like Pat, the point about Thurles is Pat has been preparing him for when he doesn't come away too well and get to the bend with dogs around him, you know. So, like, the preparation has gone in for this. I didn't see 2808 coming, but I saw a
28-20, and they have to go around him to beat him.
Fair notion what he was going there. Like.
Yeah, Tommy, it was one of those runs where you just go, wow. You know, that first stride, you go, wow. And before you know it, he's 6 clear and on his way to an emphatic victory. You know, there were some really good dogs in behind him. Like, don't rule out the likes of Clona Bolt and Rural Star, and even, you know, going back, you have Envoy and Victor and Billis Tudor, the dog that showed real promise on debut. But, you know, Explosive Boy was just in a different league to them. He won by 9 lengths. The Clona Bolt dog did show loads of pace in defeat. There was a little bit of traffic around the last 2 bends, but it was all about Explosive Boy.
Yeah, it was. I don't think his early section was the quickest. I think it might have been the 124, but yeah, he did it right. But like, in fairness to Pat, he has obviously targeted this from a long way out, and the dog has had a nice few runs. Like, he's not one of those that you're expecting is going to improve massively as they go on. No, you don't really need to, but just at the same time, you still need to break each time. Like, he did miss a kick in that last sprint in Thurles. If he breaks like that and gets a reasonable draw like that, I mean, it's a long competition. I'm not trying to run the dog down, but like, we're trying to make it a bit more exciting than we found the winner in the very first heat. Like, you know, I suspect it mightn't have happened, and maybe it did because Pat is just a brilliant trainer.
Yeah, master trainer. He's absolute master trainer. There's no question.
He's the one the lad you'd have no question about.
And Paul, you're more than familiar with Pat. When he talks sense. He's just one of these fellas. He doesn't get carried away. He doesn't talk in hyperbole. He just talks sense. You know, he knows exactly what he's doing. He has a plan.
Yeah, and it's his plan. Yeah. You know, and there's no outside interference with it, you know.
Going behind Explosive Boy, PC, you know, of the ones that did qualify behind him, Clona Bolt, there's no question he's massively fast. He's very much a 600-yard dog. He doesn't have the early speed probably to win a Kirby.
Yeah, I thought he ran a cracker the other night, you know.
Yeah.
Like, this is the kind of dog you go to a competition with, you go to war with him. You know, you can get this qualified week on week. You know, especially outside there now where we haven't too many seats. You know, you can see Clona Bolt progressing, and if the early pacers get tired, if Explosive Boy misses it in a final, you know, or something like that, you're throwing a ball going up the outside, you know he's going to stay. You know, you all those dogs, after what Cable Bay done, those type of dogs have a chance in the Kirby.
Yeah.
You know, once they turn close up. And Clona Bolt has a lovely profile to progress the whole way. If you're on him anti-post each way, this is a real shot at getting to the final with a shout.
Yeah, you know, it's an attritional competition, Tommy. Like, Limerick is a really big gallop. It's going to take a really hardy greyhound to get through these 5 rounds. Like,
it wasn't an obvious competition. Obviously, but with the money aside, it wasn't an obvious competition for Clona Bolt. I think potentially
you'd have thought Shelbourne Park, and maybe that's why they brought him to Shelbourne. But I think they were so impressed with him, they decided, we have to go to Kirby now.
And I'm not sure what type of seed he is. Are you?
I'm not. I think he'll end up passing dogs on the outside. But in Shelbourne, the night he came away, he moved straight in. The other night he did look in a couple of times, but I think he'll stay wide to pass dogs if need be. I think he just needs just to see a little bit of space in front of him early, and that's why they didn't put him in the middle. I think there's 3 wide seats left and 6 middles. I suspect he would put that just to give him a bit of space, and it's a learning process. I suspect, even though we're talking about an £80,000 competition, that it's an educational process, and wherever he gets to is a bonus. I think he's as fast as anything in it. And if you put him in a match with any dog in the competition, I'd say he'd beat him just because of that raw ability. He's got the most unbelievable stride on him.
He's a seriously fast greyhound. I don't think we saw it the other night. I don't think we saw it anywhere because he kind of hesitated when he came out of traps. He didn't know where he was going to go. Was he going to go in? Those dogs that came out in front of him just didn't know what he was going to do. He's still a bit of inexperienced. That was only race number 5, I think.
No, 4.
Yeah.
Oh,
5, I'd say. 5, I'd say.
Yeah, right.
I think he's potentially one of the fastest in the country, and probably a match for almost anything in the competition. So it's just, I don't think it's a competition now. Maybe I'm wrong, and I think Tom O'Neill is another fella who we've got to take seriously as a trainer. Who knows how to develop them through a competition, and as Paul said, he is a type of competition dog because he can make mistakes and can still qualify. He's got some stamina in him, you know. Look, I pre-competition, without knowing a lot of the dogs who were inexperienced, I thought he might have been the dog that might win it. After the first round, I'm saying no, he's not going to win it. But I can see him traveling a bit into it and developing as a dog through the competition.
Yeah, indeed. We have spent a long time on this first seat. Obviously, for obvious enough reasons, Explosive Boy and Clona Bolt were two real two talking dogs on the night. And before the competition started, I do have to mention Rural Star, mainly because going into this competition, a lot of eyes would have been on the unraced form, the Juvenile Classic, the Rural Hawaii It Stood unraced. Rural Star, for me, was one of the stars of the Rural Hawaii It Stood. Went out at the semi-final stages unlucky. Looked a bit sort of caught in the headlights the other night. I've no doubt he'll considerably improve at that. And as we'll discuss later on, some of the unraced form really stood up, Paul.
Yeah, without doubt. And I'd be like you, coming out of Clonmel, I was as impressed with Roars. And I even messaged Mike online. I said, just get him to Limerick. Like, Limerick is his place where you go to Shelburne, like Limerick is his place. And look, a little disappointing the other night, but like he ran a lovely trial stake there. Now he turned first in the trial stake and he got to place himself. But look, they are still, the laddies are still inexperienced, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, no question.
And you know, much easier for them when they lead up at this age. You know, they learn. He could be a one to learn quickly. I think he's the potential to be a proper greyhound.
Yeah, I absolutely agree, Tommy. Again, the unraced form. We'll talk about it plenty during the night, but you can forgive a dog like Rural Star for getting a little bit lost.
He probably lacks that bit of early pace anyway for this competition in terms of the getting to the first bend in it. He's going to be doing his 130s probably most of the time, mid 130s, and that's going to leave you with a lot of thinking to do about how you're going to get around dogs in front of you. But like as we say about almost every dog in the race, there's plenty of scope for improvement. So we might see a bit of something's going to come out and surprise us mid competition and really take off, or maybe next week really take off. Something's going to surprise us. And maybe from that competition, because it was a good competition, even though it was an N2, it was a very good competition in Clonmel.
Oh yeah, very much so. It was only an N2 by name, certainly not by the results, and one or two stars really coming out of it. We'll move on, lads, to the second heat, because we've got a lot to get through. The second heat was won by one of the lesser known greyhounds, Racket Hall Leo. You'd probably know plenty about him in terms of his profile, PC. You know, he looked like a racehorse. He was 89 pounds. He was down 2 pounds the other night, so he was weighing in at a very tidy 87 pounds. He's a big engine, Paul. You know, whether he'll be thereabouts at the finish, I don't know. But I can promise you one thing: have some sport with this dog, because he's a beautiful, powerful galloper.
Yeah. No, I was delighted with this heat. I was all over this heat. I loved it. I loved the result. I loved the makeup of it beforehand. I wrote it. It's going to all wave into the rail. You know, even with
it actually happened exactly that. It was nothing diving in, but each of the 5 runners just edged in that few inches, and he just had a lovely run up the outside.
I was delighted when I saw the draw, because Liam, he was 3 races, no win, and I had been waxing lyrical about this fella in Bergen, even without a win. And like the litter are very good. A couple of sisters are flying around Thurles. Liam wouldn't have too many for the big competitions, you know. If he hadn't them sold, he'd target maybe a Tipperary Cup, you know, that type of local trainer. But by God, like Lick and Liam to a dog, and he's shrewd. And this fella, like, he looked at from the word go, he had to run an open sprint his first race in Thurles, qualified too fast for a local track, of course. And in that sprint, he was only beat a length and a half, a very fast clock, Explosive Boy actually behind him. And again, then the graded 525, the gears he showed down the back in Thurles. So I really did. And I tried to tell Joe Sheehan, I tried to tell him before he went on with it the other night. I said, Racket Hall Leo's the dog, and I said there's 125 to 1 to be got about this fella. I said, get it. And I absolutely delighted. Look, the size of him, Liam took his time with him. Obviously, it started, he was 2 years old. Big big dog, handled tenderly, brought on low, has to be heaps of natural improvement, along with that latent ability. There could be anything to come from Racket Hall. It might be this week, but I think in 6 months' time, we're talking about a proper greyhound at any venue.
Yeah, Tommy, like I know being the Dubs here, we always bring it back to Shelburne Park, but 575, 600 yards at Shelburne Park, he'd just devour the place.
Yeah, he's probably not most natural of wide seeds. He's not a wide dog.
He was edging in on 5.
Yeah,
as well.
He's not. But I tell you what, if he comes shoulder to shoulder with any other dog, I'd say they're losing out anyway. he's a bit of a giant, but God, he showed some lovely pace. I mean, in fact, one of the more impressive parts was the way he ran the third bend. He just skipped by the leader for fun, like he just galloped sweetly around, gone. He was very, very strong up the straight. I liked him. I actually liked him. I didn't know much about him, I'll be honest, but I liked him. I liked what I saw the other night anyway.
Yeah, PC. Behind him, of course, Waikiki Bomber should get early speed. He does a 16.24 to the third bend. It sort of really just highlights how fast Explosive Boy was doing, because he did nothing wrong with Kiki Bomber. He ran well in defeat. A 16.24 off a 4.19. You know, he's a January as well. He has a bit of experience, actually, one of the more experienced runners in the lineup, but ran well. Ballymac Merlin did show his inexperience. He got squeezed earlier, but did stay on well in defeat. I've no doubt he'll go considerably faster. And Glengar Masha, I'd have to take a glance to. Did it get through as a fastest fourth? Perhaps not, but did show a little bit of foot in defeat. Paul, was there anything in behind you you'd take a note of?
Yeah, look, I thought Waikiki Bomber ran a lovely race, but Ballymac, it was always likely, inexperience, and I always thought that he was going to go that way to the rail, and it didn't really get a run. Thought ran lovely down the back and lovely home. Like there's one, as Tommy says, something's going to spring up. It could be Merlin this week. Yeah.
I'll tell you what we do. We better skip on, because at this rate we'll be here till all hours. It's going to be this 4-hour podcast. Heat 3, the Heat 3 of the Kirby. It was pretty professional by Deadly Destroyer. He was a dog that's really coming into himself. You know, he'd only had the 2 victories on his card prior to Saturday night, but he now has the 3. And an impressive winner. Led soon, 4:16, 16:19. Did little wrong in 28:36. He's a player, Paul. He's a dog that could certainly go well in this competition.
Yeah, without a doubt, because he doesn't lack a bit of early. He won't have the early of all of them in the heat. That was a heat I looked at and I thought he could lead up. And there'll be an odd heat where he can lead up, but obviously he doesn't need to lead up to advance. And he's a perfect dog, for anyone at anti-post, because you'll get a dog like him to a final, you always have a chance. He's going to be difficult to knock out because he has enough early to get a position on the way up against any draw.
And even if you're a strong runner, if you're second or third, it's not an awful long run in. He's not the dog you'd be picking up too easy off the final bend.
No, if you haven't got him at the final bend, you probably ain't going to get him. No. I really, really like him.
Belvolt ran well in second spot. Tommy, we know what he's about. He's very strong. He wants the fence, and there will be lots of dogs with more early speed than him, but he is one for the future. And the way Liam speaks of him, he has targets in mind. Perhaps he's not going to be a Kirby winner, but he could certainly go a few rounds if he gets the right draw.
Signs of improvement. He broke very well. Just didn't have that early pace. Probably need a little bit of space around him just to learn a bit more. But there was definitely a sign of improvement in his trapping, I thought. He just lacked that bit of pace. He stays on strongly now. He is a nice dog. It's going to be a big galloping track for him in time to show his very, very best. But he's a serious prospect.
Yeah. Behind him, Angry Dad grabbed third for Liam Walsh and Peter Cronin. It was only beg your pardon, just the reserve. Excuse me, I didn't change it on my original list. Bling Bling Paul, excuse me. Paul, a member of a fast litter. His sister actually won over 750 yards at Cork on Saturday night. Really catching the
Yeah, no.
Go ahead, Paul. You know a bit about him.
Yeah, no, delighted for John Meehan. That was great, and he just ran lovely.
Yeah,
he actually gave his running. He ran what he is, and he can be in the mix in the heats going forward.
Yeah, excuse me. He was sort of left second between the left second 1.5, and he was stayed there till the third bend, where Ballymacbelvote shot up the inside of him. That's there's nothing to be disgraced there. Just in defeat, a couple of dogs I want to mention there. I thought Good Cody was a little bit unlucky. He was forced to check at the opening turn when in a good enough position. It did turn into third spot, but again, Ballymacbelvote was going to be too strong, and no luck for the other pair. Lower Ron and All for the Best, they got involved in opening bend scrimmage, but a nice display by Deadly Destroyer. Himself and Ballymacbelvote certainly the two to take out of it. On to the fourth heat. Here, Sing Along Sally really did frank her juvenile classic form. We know, she's only had the 4 starts prior to Saturday night, and already we know exactly what she's about. Fast starter, gets to the rails, she stays every inch of it. She's just a really likable type, Tommy. She's just like she knows what the game is.
Well, her run in the final in Tralee was nearly a carbon copy. She was out and gone. Now, of course, she was helped by the fact that the dog and trap one missed the kick completely, and kind of gave her the whole rails to herself. There were a couple of dogs actually showed pace in behind her. Now she was a comprehensive winner. Don't get me wrong. Stone Park Leo showed a lot of pace after missing the kick.
He showed massive pace on the back in particular,
and then lost it on the third bend. Seemed to lose about 2 or 3 lengths in the third bend for kind of, I don't know what reason. And those days are gone. The finish runner up was challenging, maybe a length behind Sally at the first bend, and got kind of clipped and lost a bit of ground. Even let maybe Stone Park Leo up its inside, but ran on again nicely. But Sing Along Sally she's one of those. She's almost already entitled to be mentioned in that brigade of top pitches that we have at the moment. She's very close to that level already, and she's inexperienced. She's a bit of a professional. There'll be tougher tests ahead. There'll be a lot tougher tests ahead for her, and to see how good she is, and maybe this competition will prove beyond her. I think it probably will as it moves on for the moment, but she's a serious prospect.
Yeah, she's in trap 1 in the final. You give her a chance.
She has to get to the final.
Okay, 4:17, 16:19. Paul, a lot to like about Sing Along Sally. Stone Park Leo, big eye catcher though. Did you have a thoughts in the third bend? Was it just a case of inexperience? Did he clip something, or was it just missed the stride?
Yeah, I'd imagine it's just inexperience, because it's not something you see too often at Limerick. Yeah. It's why we say it's good for stayers. Them bottom bends, they tend to run them very smooth. They're conducive to passing moves and all that. So I'd say it was just inexperience. Fair play to Mark, very responsible. He's after putting the middle seat on him straight away after what he done out trap 1. And that could help an awful lot with him. But just in the heat and doing the report for the Bible, I've just put down the one to follow out of you could have been 20 of them, but those days are gone. He was on the tail of her into the bend, we're all in love with Sing Along Sally, but he was on the tail of her, and he clipped himself, I think, off her backside, and he done well to even stand up.
And finds himself all of a sudden back in third, and then the other dog's carrying more momentum, but then does stay on again. Oh,
he ran a styler after that, but just when you consider, you give him another heat, and he wouldn't have had Slip Along Sally there. I don't know what he'd have done if he'd have turned with a clear sight of the hair in front.
Yeah, well, he does 28.81, and he certainly loses 5 or 6 in running at least.
He was lucky not to go down. I thought so. Yeah.
Stone Park Leo, middle seed. Looking at his pedigree and the rest of the litter, and even what we saw the other night, I'd say he's all about early speed. So you can ignore him missing the kick like that. When he does hit the lids, he could make the vast majority of these dogs in this competition run to that third bend.
Yeah, another one, like Tommy says, something's going to come out and shock us next week. It could be the likes of Stone Park Leo, because he's
in the right place, isn't he?
Oh, God.
Right, the fifth heat, we move on. I sort of said it the other night, and you think about it after it's going, maybe that was a bit preemptive, but I'll tell you what, there was an awful lot to like about Romeo Magico. There was a touch of the Clare's rocket about him, Paul.
Yeah, pure, just you couldn't ask for more. Just it's great to see actually Magical Bale's name on the list, and he has that type of class of his side. Beautiful down the back, absolutely poke your eye out,
His sire, Magical Bale, as you say, he was one of the most fluent gallopers you'd ever watch. He really did look like he could devour ground up. And Romeo Magico, there was just so much to like about him. 28.40, for all the world, to look even faster into the third bend. He probably did come a little back, but it was his third start. He's only in August 19. He's bred in the purple on both sides. 16.16, which by my reckoning is the third fastest of the night, which was, that's saying it all for a dog having his third start. There was so much to like about it. Now, the race did sort of fall into it sort of was a race that sort of fell apart. Permanent Smile checked up in his corners, clearly feeling something, only perfection. He lost his action to the third, and there was no real challenger to him once he got up that inside. But it was hard not to be impressed, Tommy.
Yeah, he's not an inside railer. He moved mid. He moved middle. He didn't fly out, but he has a great style about his gallop. That's kind of he is a fluent enough mover when he engages. I just wonder, it's only his third run, so we can't put him into a certain category yet. But I just wonder, do those first 10 yards affect him? Will they affect him as he goes on? You know, when you were thinking ahead to the likes of your Derbysh, where you might have a knock the bull Sid, who if he's drawn outside, he'll probably beat you to the punch and also come across you. Things like that. He's going to become a little bit middle. I wonder if when they go to Shelburne, maybe will they switch his seating? Possibly, no, maybe not because he runs the first bend pretty nicely. But I just think those first 10, 15 yards, he's inclined to move out a bit. But that was only his third ever run. I think you've got to forgive him. Like we'll find out a lot more about him next week. But he's one of those ones that could be. And in fairness, I think it's been reflected in his prices. He is a serious player in the outright market.
Oh yeah, there was some shrewd money on him. There's no question about
that.
Yeah. It wasn't just kennel money as well. I heard one or two of the young lads that absolutely devoured a form book talking about him, and they were spot on. In fairness, Romeo Magico, lots of pace. Paul, he did trial at 74. He's up to 79. He's probably a dog that's just filling his frame. I have no doubt in time that those first 10 yards probably won't be a problem. I think it'll come. You know, that's just inexperience at present.
It's too early.
Yeah, it's too early, yeah. You can't really make that sort of call as yet, I assume.
I think it bears analysis even at this stage.
Rock Along Rocket went up well on the outside, a son of Droopy's Cane for Michael McNamara in Tulla. This fellow was probably stepping up in what he'd done thus far. He's a nice type. He's not going to be a Kirby winner, Paul, but a nice type.
Yeah, but like it was a fair effort to stop him leading. Like this fella is proper early, you know. So like that kind of boosts what Magico done, because Rock Along really can move early, you know.
Yeah,
and the light for the McNamara is now seeing Dewey's run, and I hope he keeps doing his run. If he gets knocked out after breaking well the next night, well and good.
Well and good, yeah. No, that's fair enough. Flyers in the Iniesta was third for Jerry Holdian. And when Jerry comes down with one, you always have to pay it respect. It didn't quite get involved in the contest early. I'm sure better to come from it, but it'll want to come. This son of Droopy's Jet, listen, there's no easy contest from here on in. We'll move on to the next race because we do have to truck along a bit. The sixth race, this was the one we were all anticipating. This was the clash of the two ladies, and as so often happens, you build it up, and it falls flat in its face. You know, Billy's Diva is probably a certainty beaten. If Jacob Taschelet hits the lids, she goes round second, and she wins. Jacob Taschelet missed a kick. She came away well. So too did I've Everything, but Billy's Diva mastered that one pretty quickly. Jacob Taschelet races into the corner and just runs straight off. And the two of them are wiped out. And all of a sudden, Vigorous Buck, who in fairness to the dog, had shown more early the other night. He was disputing third, was left in front. Strong runner for Ronnie Woots. Goes on to win. Ballymac Ariel comes around the outside, goes second. She shows foot down the back straight, but perhaps not quite sparkling like we know she's capable of. It was an interesting heat. It's a hard heat to reflect on because you're so disappointed that Billy's Diva didn't get round because she's a big loss to the competition, Paul.
Yeah, no, my heart sank when it happened, because you want the best in the competition. She's a big name going to go forward with, you want her in it. I was worried about the draw when I saw it because we had the seed on Ariel, which is a small bit of an unknown for me. You never second guess the Dowlings, but small bit of an unknown for me. Fair play, neither herself or Diva moved in too quickly at all, really. And like you say, like if Jacob breaks, better it doesn't happen. He's proper early. My heart did sink, but I think, look, it's done, it's happened. She's sound, thank God. And I just take nothing away from the winner after that. Delighted to see a true track regular, getting his winner, and when one of Ronnie's turns in front after second, Benjamin, forget about it.
Ronnie obviously had Derby finalist in the past. He's got some, very talented greyhounds have gone through.
Very close to really breaking through with the right one.
Yeah.
You're waiting for it all the time. Ronnie is really, really knocking on the door. And I'd love to see Buck progress again next week now for him.
He's a you know, not doing judgment to the dog, but he really is a 5'7", 600 yard greyhound, and that's probably where he'll start. 550 probably would even better suit him than 525.
All the Ronnies seem to be that, you know. Like I say, if you're behind one of Ronnies at the sprint box, forget it.
Forget about it, yeah. Forget about it.
Yeah,
That's been a rule of thumb, all right.
Very, very fast dogs.
Tommy, Ballymac Aerial, she did have a couple of spins around Limerick. I heard Liam telling Julie Collier that in an interview last week. She did look a bit lost in herself. It was like, I don't know what I'm going to do here from the outside. That'll come with experience. It wasn't quite her sparkling best, but she's still there, and she's one of those that could still take off.
Yeah, I didn't think she was a race away from a big run now. I thought she was a bit further away than that. Looking at her, she's supposed to have done a big trial, but I just didn't think she was a week away from it. I thought she might need another week or two. Now, hopefully, that she just keep qualifying. There's a tiny bit to prove, in the sense that, you know, the last time we saw her, she wasn't at her very best. But that doesn't really concern me. I'll be quite honest about it. I think she'll be back if she can work her way slowly through this competition rather than coming out next week and doing 27.90. You know, that would suit me more. I'm sure it'd suit the Dowlings more too. That she just progress slowly. Billy's Diva. There was one thing about Billy's Diva. If you're watching the heat the other night, and I was kind of disgusted because it had the potential to be something exceptional. She broke quite well, and she just took this acceleration from the winning line to the first bend. She actually accelerated and was nearly clear of Jacob Taschen-Delek. It was just a little bit unlucky. It's just confirmation that she has developed that little bit of early pace that she probably didn't have last year. Like, she's in against dogs, you know. I mean, it's not just in against her own sex. Like, she's shown that little bit extra. She showed it in the Easter Cup, and she over 550. We thought maybe is it because of the 550 run up and the whole lot. No. She's just developed as a greyhound, Billy's Diva, and it was just unfortunate. Look, she's fine, and that's the main thing, and we'll see her again, and she'll do great things through the year. But I actually come away with a bit of a positive out of what she did the other night. So, looking the Vigorous Book was in the position to take advantage, and that's what you have to be. Not all races are run without a little bit of bumping and trouble and whatever else, and so, you know, the dog that gets to the line in front deserves the accolades. So Vigorous Book, fair play to Mantarani. But I wouldn't be too downhearted about Billy's Diva. I know it's a competition worth an awful lot of money, but she'll be back. And Ballymac Aerial, I'm not looking to next week to expecting something explosive. I'm waiting a couple of weeks down the line.
Well, that's fair enough. Vigorous Book, 28.61 off 16.36. It's good running. There's no question he's a really strong running dog. And, you know, we didn't focus on him, but I think we're all three of us would say we wouldn't mind a leg at him. Well, it's one thing for you lads. I couldn't afford it, but you boys probably could, you know.
Good God.
Landowners down the country, you know.
Any of the 78 the other night, I come.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough.
Yeah.
Right, we'll move on. I'll move on with my gentrified friends here. The sevens race here, Heat 7 of the Con Annie Kirby Memorial. This was one for the progressive types. Zafiro is the one that finished fourth. He was one of the more fancied runners. He really does look a 600-yard dog. So too does the winner, Vallegro, but he also looks a fairly talented 525-yard dog for Paul and Morris Heffernan. And of course, Paul, you would have remembered they had a finalist back with Country Legend, third to Cable Bay. They always, like Ronnie, they always have a real powerful, strong running type breed. And he's out of Higher Level, who was an absolute star herself. She herself was closely related to Country Legend. Vallegro really going the right way. You know, this was its first step up into open company. It won a tri-distance down in Newbridge. It was afforded the chance to get to the front by one time only moving off the corner. He had been reseeded. Is he still an inside? I'm not sure. But you know, he showed good early speed to lead into the corner. He is still an inside, but he's out in 5 the next night. Having been a middle wide, he moved off. Vallegro saw the gap, shot through, and once going to the front, he was never going to be picked up. One time only, showed plenty of pace to the third bend to try and stay with them. He was never going to pick him up once not getting there by the third bend, and Vallegro staying on stoutly to win. And he wins well in 28.64. A lot to like about him. At this point in the night, I just felt that the track was just getting that little bit deader, slower, shall we say, Paul?
Yeah, I don't know about that, but just on Vallegro, like, the Heffernans arrived with 3 of them, you know, and they wouldn't obviously stand out when you're going through the farm to start with, until you realise, like, they're all granddaughters, they're all grandkids of Still at Moe. damn a country legend who loved it around Limerick. He was in 3 big semi-finals. Right? Third in the Kirby. He was in 2 ledger semis as well. Like, and you'd higher level herself in the semi-final of a Kirby. You know, and they always suited Limerick. Their strong running style. All these progeny of Silletmo and Bellegro. I was very, and actually earlier on tonight, Victor was very unlucky after showing a bit more earlier than I expected him to show.
He was done at the final bend when he was still in good pitch.
Bellegro showed a bit more early than I kind of expected. You know when he turned down the back, he winner all right, because you won't get anything on that line that won't go to the line. Like they'll go to the finish line for you. But yeah, as regards to slowing down of the track, we'll wait with the heat's done, and I'll come up with a counter argument to that, because I'm not so sure.
I'm not arguing the point. I'm saying perhaps.
Perhaps
there, Paul. You know,
I rule out your perhaps after the last piece, but I thought that was it. I was very taken with that run, with Bellegro's run. And
hard not to be taken by the runner-up too, Paul. He ran well.
Ran a styler. Look, he gave Bellegro the opportunity at the bend, you know. But like, look. That's he's going into it hard, and he's going into it hard on the rail. They're young dogs are not always going to glue themselves to it, you know. So
and looking at his card, Tommy wouldn't have had much chance to give him too many spins around Limerick if he had any at all. Trap one time only. Sorry, Paul.
Oh, sorry, you're still with me. Yeah, no, I couldn't see where he had a run around Limerick either. Yeah, so like, look, I wouldn't be knocking him for that or worrying too much about the siege. Like I say, he was glued to it going into it. It's not easy to stay on it, no matter what. When we're moving at the pace he was moving, like he has early. Now I backed him for the heat. I thought going to the bend, yeah, lovely. I'm done. I'm up to it. But
at the second bend, you weren't saying lovely. You were saying something different. We won't mention that here, though.
Yeah, but as soon as he moved off it, and the leg was the inside, you know, it's curtains. Like, but that was a lovely run out one time only, and I liked him before the heat. I backed him, and I still like him. Yeah.
Yeah, Tommy, you were hard not to like the first and second. They both ran well.
Yeah, I thought Bellegro was 130 sectional, or not one time only. Sorry, it was an improvement on what he had done in his previous runs relative to different tracks now. Albeit I think it showed that he might be progressive in that sense. So yeah, I'd be willing to give him another chance. I thought he might be an interesting player in future heats. Bellegro tracked beautifully. It was actually a lovely little bit of a move. It's not like one time only ran right off the bend. He just left about the space of 1.5 greyhounds maybe inside us, and was able to exploit it very quickly. So I thought, it's not like it ran straight off the bend. Good bit of tracking, 2 decent dogs, and they were nicely clear of the remainder. Zafiro is a dog that's just not doing it yet. You can see it there. You can see it bubbling under. And
I described him Saturday night going into third bend. He looked like a jockey that was holding a double handful, didn't know whether to go inside or outside, and in the end just sort of had to wait, and then got racing too late.
But he did that throughout the Tralee competition, didn't he? Really, apart from the one night when he switched outside and showed phenomenal pace. He's a dog that is just. Hasn't learned it all yet, but he's in the right place. He diced with leaving the competition the other night. It's only a head that kept him inside in the competition for next week. But he's in a good place now to bring him along. He obviously only see the natural ability in him and will think, you know what, there's no big panic with him. But he's the one now that will need to, I think, if he's going to be a serious player outright in this, and it's probably a step at the moment. But we'll have to see a move forward next week. Or else we can say, okay, he's for later in the year. If it's not next week, it's later in the year.
The engine is there. It's just a case of when it gets fully revved up. Behind as well, Benel Medina Roxy. I thought she ran very well. I thought she was one of the few that ran from the unraced stake in Newbridge, the bitch unraced stake. Thought she ran well. She grabbed third on the line. There's better to come from her, but a good run for Stephen Pennell and Kevin Loughnane. She's certainly one to keep an eye on. I think plenty of good ones will come out of that competition at Newbridge. Also to the 8th race in your card. Paul, Fabulous Azura, a lot to like about this lady. It was only a 4-dog race, and yet Bocco's Belly managed to find so much traffic, and I thought he ran well. I'd love to see him going well, because Bev and Bev Lockheed and Graham Box paid good money for this fellow out of Thurles. He's looked a really nice dog in England. I think he needs to man up a little bit, but he did run well in the feet. He's 4th, and I'm focusing on him. But the 1st and 2nd, Fabulous Azura and Coulivanny Lily, they're two ladies that could really join that elite group that we're talking about of bitches in the country. They're both very talented.
Yeah, they're very talented at a very early age. Probably it was a nice start for a 4-dog heat for the two of them. It was nice, and Azura got it all her own way, but ran a fucking style. Absolute styler. Just kind of was an odd one for Noel to have sold Bacco's Belly and end up our 78 dogs being drawn beside him. Then with Coolivani Lily, like, because Noel sold him our Turles, like. But I thought, like you, like, I kind of a little bit disappointed with Bacco. Like, there was only 4 of them in it, you know. I expected him to spark. Now look, he'll do it, yeah. He'll probably spark it, like, but I loved him in Turles. Like, he was an absolute powerhouse going down the back in Turles in a really good casco. So, but yeah, look, I like both bitches. Both bitches. I put the two of them on the one level. I wouldn't be taking either of them over the other. You know, and like even the Fabulous Artist Litter, there's only the two of them, you know, and the two of them won on the night, you know, first round of the Kirby, like, that's lovely.
Yeah. We have to mention 3 of them. Nitro Anto didn't run too bad either. It was only his 5th career start. He's a nice type too.
Yeah, well, yeah,
or 4th career start, should I say?
He didn't lead up, so I thought he ran really well. Yeah.
Tommy, just nothing more to say really. They're 2 quality bitches.
No, exactly. And Fabulous Azura and Bacco's Belly are really against each other next week, and you throw in Ballymac Ariel and Vigorous Buck and Valeg Grow. It's quite a hot heat next week. So in Bacco's Belly will have to, as you say, man up a little bit very quickly. It looks like a tough heat and a tough draw next week. So yeah, another one that we mightn't see the best of until later in the year.
Yeah. Heat 9 of the Kirby, moving on. A good fine display by All About Ted. On Saturday night, I probably focused too much on the runner-up, Ballymac Cashout, in terms of his run. But All About Ted, it's worth remembering, this was his first start since that eye-catching run on the Winter Racing Festival night. He looked a real star in the making that night. In defeat, let it be said, behind Feudal Spirit, a talented tracker, but this fellow showed unbelievable pace. The other night, he would have blown away the cobwebs. He needed it. 28.74. I have no doubt that this was one of the aforementioned few that could just take off. Paul, a lot to like about All About Ted.
Yeah, definitely. I was looking at the heat, you know, and Ballymac is too short, you know, right? Give me something to have a go at here. And I had no bet because it would have been Ted only for the layoff.
Yeah.
You know, like it's nearly 4 months, you know. So I was delighted, you know, from my good friend William Rigney. I was delighted to see him bounce back so quickly. He could definitely progress from the run. There's no reason why he shouldn't progress for the run. He progressed from the trials. The trials weren't sparkling, you know. That kind of worried me a little bit before the traps opened. But once they opened, I thought, go on, Ted, you know, fair play to you. Look, he had it all to do to hold off Ballymac, but when he did, like, it ended up 2 lengths. You know, it wasn't the one that Ballymac was. So he ran really, really well for a dog coming back. Yeah, I'd be delighted. Peter was delighted with him.
Yeah, I'd say so. He looked like a dog that was undercooked, Tommy. Obviously, he's out of Enable. She goes back to Groupie Doll. There's loads of stamina there. Enable herself was a real 600-yard star when she got it right. He's a dog that could certainly improve, but Ballymac Cashout is a dog where I don't know where I stand with him. I know he has unbelievable ability, but he just seems to not know where he wants to be himself. Does he want inside? Does he want outside? He went to switch a couple of times. He showed buckets of pace, checks up the first, checks into the third, sort of switching around. You could almost hear the frustration of Mal's voice in the commentary. Untold ability. You know, the ability to be as fast as any dog in the country.
He's like, for all that he did wrong and went wrong for him in the first part of the race. If you want to watch him the very last bend, he nearly comes down. I wouldn't mind the 2 lengths. I like now. All About Ted is a dog I like, and that run that night at the Winter Festival was serious. And he's a much more professional dog than he showed the other night. And what I mean is, he's capable of putting it all together much better than the other night. I thought All About Ted came out. I came out of the race thinking All About Ted. Yeah, he's going to improve a ton for that run. But Ballymac Cashout, I just hope he's not one of those that's going to frustrate me forever, because by God, the pace he showed the other night, everything went wrong. And then the last bend, if you see it, it's not that really difficult to see, but you see what happens to his tail at the last bend as he's up the back of the leader.
He sort of nearly goes down and nod, and the tail goes
sideways, and the whole lot. He's struggling to keep.
He's doing everything for balance at that point.
Yeah, exactly. So that's where you're giving away the few lengths. Like I think if they meet next week, they're not in the same heat next week, but if they did meet next week, I'd expect All About Ted to do 28.34 probably. And maybe Ballymac Cashout might beat him at that even. Maybe, or he certainly still push him. I think they're 2 dogs that are considerably better than they showed the other night, even though Ballymac or All About Ted didn't get an awful lot wrong in the race.
Yeah.
You know.
Paul, it was the second slowest heat, but it'd be no surprise to you or me or anyone if they were 2 dogs in the final.
100%. You know, like that qualifies. You could look at that, say thinking that the track is getting slower at that stage, but you qualified with Ted was off for nearly 4 months before this, so.
Yeah.
And like Cash Out, like in fairness to Cash Out, like he kept meeting him at the wrong stage, his backside was in his way at the really wrong time.
It was like they were on the same racing line as well. It didn't help.
Yeah, and like you're looking in behind, and if you have him back, just saying, "Jeez, would you cop on?" But like it's super genuine. Like everybody saw a bit of daylight, he went to go, and then it wasn't there. So I wouldn't be too hard on Cash Out for that at all. Like look, the dog's an absolute aeroplane. It kind of reminds me, even though they're not the very same, but kind of reminds me of Skywalker Logan. For the first 12 months, you're wondering where they're going to go, how I'm going to do it. Back him. No, I can't back him. Oh Jesus,
You just want to be there in the fan club when it does click.
No, there you are. But sure, look, it's easy being Ballymac Cash Out fan club. He's an aeroplane. We know that. We all know that.
Yeah, but
just go ahead, Tommy.
He was beaten in the final of the Gold Cup, and I still can't understand how.
Yeah, but sure, that's where we're talking, because that's where our frustration's coming in, Paul. It was the folks at the Shelburne runs.
So look, this is it. This is dogs, and punters have to at times just like. You just have to take it on the chin. They're animals. You can't predict them,
Yeah. It's funny enough. Liam Dowling didn't have a winner on Saturday night, and yet he's got 3 or 4 dogs to win this competition. No question about it.
Yeah, it's kind of gas. You're jotting down the notes, as the winner goes, and you're jotting down just to keep track of who's won, the trainers and trainers, and no Liam Dowling written down.
Yeah. And that was a big price. That was a big price at the start of the night. Now
he'll sort it out next week.
Yeah, I've no doubt about it. Just behind epic news, didn't get into the race as early as he can. He can show more early speed than he did. He showed a bit of foot to get involved, though. He's another dog that could improve considerably. He has the 28-31 trial. Obviously, a brother to Billy's Diva. I have no doubt. This is one of those dogs that just might be a late bloomer. I think sort of in the late summer, this is a dog that could be really one that we'd be talking about.
I said the very same thing. I said he could be a slower maturing type of a slower maturing comrade of Billy's Diva, that it might come later. I wrote that somewhere last week, and it still could be. Like getting outpaced by Cash Out passing halfway is no disgrace.
No, certainly not. We'll move on to 10th, because this is it is a long one. The 10th heat. Hello, Mikey, a dog that caught my eye in the opening round of the Easter Cup. Showed really good early boot on that occasion. And this occasion showed decent early, but Scala O'Mara just took off into the corner. Paul, I'm sure you're going to tell us that's his style of running. He has lovely early speed. But hello, Mikey, despite finding trouble on the first corner, and he enters the back straight well behind Scala O'Mara, but charges up that third bend. He's on his tail at the third, goes around him, wins well in 28.77, the slowest of the heats. The Machine, a real eye catcher in second spot. He's no question a dog with a massive engine. Precious Story's a half brother to Toaster Story, the great stayer. You can see that sort of an engine in him. They were the two to take out of it. I thought Ballymac Fair one actually ran well in fourth spot in what was his racing debut. He showed a bit of bravery in the opening corner, found himself fifth, and only finishes fourth. I don't think he got through. But hello, Mikey, the Machine. Nothing wrong with them. Again, the 28.77. Forget about the time.
Yeah, exactly. Forget about the time. Delighted for Joe Brazel, the Scala O'Mara done that, and he can affect the lot. He's going forward. He's going to be a punter's nightmare going forward. When you have your fancy inside and there's Scala O'Mara beside him. So I was delighted. He ran a styler. Delighted for Joe Brazel to get through. But hello, Mikey ran a cracker. He took a hefty enough thump,
Yeah.
And he had he had enough of ground to make up. All right, Scala O'Mara wasn't strong going to the line, but hello, Mikey ran a cracker. And with the thump, 28.77 is a good clock. Now, I was uneasy before the heat about a bet. I didn't have one. You couldn't ignore the Machine's trial, but also you're looking at the trial and you're thinking, well, he's not going to do that with dogs around him. And he won't most nights because he don't have the early. But yes, he ran it. He was fabulous from halfway. But look, we thought Cable Bay couldn't win a Kirby after 2-3 rounds. And if anyone can get the Machine to turn close enough in the final, it'll be Brendan Matthews. But
you can be sure he'll be fully tuned up through the competition. There's no question about that.
Yeah, he won't be a punt for heats going forward, but you're going to be excited watching him. You're going to be no matter what you're on, you're going to be looking to see where's he at the sprint box.
Yeah, I know well that Gary Silcock was offered money for Hello Mikey after his first round display in the Easter Cup. They decided not to sell. I could see why people wanted to buy him. He ran well, Tommy. I think he can go up a bit better than he did the other night.
Yeah, I'd say so. Still a decent run. Just going back to the Hello Mikey, sorry, and the machine. I thought the Machine, his legs, His legs move a bit quicker than his brain does at the moment. He went for. He was showing so much pace that he found himself in positions almost that he didn't expect to be in. And then when he tried to think himself out of them, he got things all wrong. I think, God, he's an unbelievably fast dog. Yet another one of those dogs. You know, he'll have to put it all together. But a number of occasions at points where you thought, you know what, he's shown the pace to go around these, and he just ran himself into a blind alley, just not thinking before he got into them. You know what I mean? And then came round the outbend. And I thought, you know, for a stride, you thought, you know, what's he doing here? And I'm going to the line in terms of if they're wide apart now. And you're thinking, he's up, is he not up? He's not. But in fairness, he went on to the escape. So I'd take a lot of positives out of the machine. The newcomer then and finishing fourth, Ballymacfair one, that was a reasonable run too.
He showed bravery on the corner because he was really squeezed in, and he went to force his way through, just couldn't quite do that. You know, legs working faster than his brain. It sounds like me at last orders. Be good when the pubs were open.
The 11, yeah, but he might learn.
Yeah, I'll never learn. No, you're dead right. I'll freely admit that. On to Heat 11. Sean Drohan always has a nice one about him. Paul, they always had a good breed. Malloch Stormzy runs out a good winner. It was a race where had the real early speed in front of him. This Adamant Best, he's going to be a sporting greyhound from going forward. He's the type of dog that could well end up in England because there's trips over there that are just made for him.
Yeah, look, the whole Adam and Jim Litter, they all have the early like. Another cracking run for Malloch Stormzy. I'm delighted that Tosh Sean spoke very well with yourselves after, actually. I think there could definitely be more to come from him. You know, that's another thing with the later heats. Like, you know, he's not out in the bunny. You know, he has a dog in front of him. You know, he has to negotiate his way around the bend. Look, ran lovely. Ran absolutely lovely. With the seed staying on him. So he's another dog that's going to get a run, and you're going to have a job to keep him out of the tree. You know, if he's running like that, because he ran stylish from the sprint back. So I really, really liked him.
Of course, the son of Droopy's Roddick, so there's Kirby heritage there.
Tommy in front of him to aim at, but like, you know, it's not like he was staying on ridiculous, but
no,
like,
just a strong running dog, just nice mover.
Outside, yeah, with the likely run on the outside, like that's he's a player. He's a player into the late stages. I can see it. Yeah.
Of course, Adamant Best was the real early speed in the middle, Tommy. He was lucky in a sense where he had Bruno, and Bombardier on his immediate inside. They're not flyers to the corner, but they're both very strong. The Bruno dog, you know, he's an accident waiting to happen, although it's probably going to be over further because I'm now of the opinion he probably just doesn't have the early, but he has some engine.
Yeah, just the 3 runs as well. But I thought, in fairness, Bombardier showed a lot of pace down to the third bend and looked like he was going to sweep by and go on. And Bruno ran on very strongly as well. There was a head between them at the line. 2 nice, strong running dogs. You can't imagine that either of them will develop quickly enough to be a player in the outright for the Kirby. But down the line, you can see them competing in longer trips in decent competitions. Adamant Best, that was a lovely show of early pace. It was close to the quickest section of the 125 out of traps, you know, that sort of stuff. But Malloch Stormzy showed a lot of pace, and I like the way he went on to the line now. That's a nice performance from the winner. Yeah, it was indeed. That Bombardier before we go on. Fast starter, stays on stoutly. Just a bit of a Javielenko about him. Could he be a Corn Cucullin type dog, Paul? It might come too soon for him, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. It's that young thing and finding their way, you know. I don't think he really knows where to be, like, when there's a couple around him yet, like, you know, like he ran a styler the week before, beating Racket Hall Leo, like, but like they got Adamant Best to aim at that night, you know. He kind of paved the path for the field that night, and he just had a little bit more complicated look. He was staying on again. It didn't look so. Bruno kind of took the glass off Bombardier's finish, you know.
No, they were both hammering home. There's no question about that. Yeah, both absolutely hammering home. Paul, we'll let you start the next race because, to use your term, Droopy's Fittest ran a styler. This is a very, very fast greyhound. Now he is draw dependent, no question about it. But my God, this is a fast greyhound.
It stank of Toolmaker Josie.
Yeah,
you know, it really did. Like, he drove it. I love the way he drove into the bend. Robert said it after, and like, you know, the interviews with Robert are great because Robert tells you. You know yourself, you've dealt with him. There's some of them there. You're asking him things. You could be with him for a half an hour, and you're going away scratching your head. What did he tell me? Like, Robert will tell you, and he really likes him. But I love the way, because he didn't break all that well. Lucky enough, they were all kind of left each other alone for the first 5-10 yards. And when he got going, he got up to full flight. I loved it the way he went into the bend. And maybe where Josie had it, Josie was sensational off second bend. I thought in around the 750 box, from halfway to 750 box, was his real touch of class. I thought he was really motoring that stage, heading for the third bend. I liked him a lot, and I think it throws the assertion out the window about the track at that stage slowing down, like 28-35 with Vipers Buzz on
Does it?
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised now on a good track that the two of them be doing 28-10.
Yeah, with Vipers
Buzz
Buzz
for me
Vipers
was
Buzz 3 cars behind him.
was one of the big eye catchers of the night. It was an unbelievable run by a very progressive dog.
It was a brilliant race, but like the only thing about the track at that stage, both of these were doing their best 5-5 run yet, beside each other, 28-35. But Jesus, Viper, like, no matter how much you like Truppy's fitness, like Viper's Buzz he was the top of the second placers really the other night. Like, it was.
Yeah, Tommy, hard not to be taken by Viper's Buzz. If you look at his card, it was improving. The last night in Shelburne Park, it was estimated 20 slow. It was considerably slower than 20. It was a really big run by a very well-bred son of good news, and JT Osprey. JT Osprey herself was a real star in the track. She won the champion bitch 550 down at Galway in 29.50 odd. Like, that's serious running. Viper's Buzz for Kieran Hicks is very much a dog to keep an eye on.
Well, he actually he was stepping up from A2 to Open Company, which was a test, but he was dropping back from 550, and maybe just that 550, which allowed him to lead, gave him that little bit of confidence, to run the race he did. I thought he ran a cracking race. Obviously, the owners of the winner are Kevin Barry and Killian Cronin, which are two lads I have to mention in Barry's absence, that they're two great supporters of Yall track. So, and lads who have put a lot of money, they've always had their own kind of dogs through the years, and they run them in their own names or whatever else. But they also have in recent years kind of have dogs with Robert and had success through syndicates or just together, the two of them. And this is a really nice dog, this Droopy's fittest. So
he wasn't a cheap pup. Hill Blake, Droopy Saga, who herself was a flying machine. This wasn't one they picked up for
these lads are putting, like they're like a lot of people around the country that never get mentioned. They're putting investing a lot into a sport that they love. Like, they really, really are passionate about it. The great supporters of the track, as I said below, and that kind of ties into racing around the country. When you're a great supporter of one track, effectively you're a great supporter of greyhound racing. That's just the way it works, because all these smaller tracks are necessary for the health of the bigger tracks. Droopy Fitters is a fine dog. They were a mile clear, and probably deservedly so. I think they were two really good dogs. As you say,
have to mention the third, Tommy. You have to mention the third.
Yeah, we have to mention the third. But I just thought they were that far clear. I thought it was a serious run now, to be quite honest about it.
Yeah, broke with hope was the one that wasn't third.
Yeah,
plenty of Yall form on its card, a nice type, but on this occasion it was all about Droopy's Fittest and Viper's Buzz. Lads, we'll move on because we're getting on here. Jack's Little Thing. This final heat was a strange affair. Salmic Sunset looked like he was going to do a big run. He was set to do it. He did 28.86 in his card, Galway 28.66 estimated. He was on the front on the outside. Jack's Little Thing was going to be very close at that point to leading him off the second bend with where they were lined up, but as it was, there was crowding off the second bend, and Salmic took a perler of a fall, thankfully got up, but Jack's Little Thing got done himself, but recovered so quickly and then stretched down the back straight and wins in 28.71. And considering the momentum in the ground he lost, Paul, this was a fast run by a very fast dog. Of course, he won the Rural Hawaii at Stud Clonmel competition. He's a really nice dog, a real 550-yard dog.
Yeah, well, debatable, because I have the finishing splits for the dogs that led, or the winners. I have the finishing splits for the winners, and it wasn't the fastest of them at all. But
But that's because the track is back at this stage, Paul.
Yeah, it was a fantastic run, though. I'll wait till the heat finished. But anyway, it was a fabulous run, because it was one of them races. It's one of them races you hate. Because the crowding started, you're waiting for it to sort itself out and get clear, and then it's still going to the second bench,
Yeah.
You feel sorry enough for Pat Gilfoyle. The first dog in the car, and you had to wait for the last dog in the car for that to happen, It's just unsatisfactory, Now, having said it, it was a heat that could have happened in, because this is a bloody good heat, I actually backed Marley for it. I thought he might hold off Jack's Little Thing going up. But look, when Jack, I'm mad about Jack. I thought it's fantastic in Clonmel. But lads, I don't know. Like Scarty Yank is another. Like three good dogs are after going through from a messy heat, which is okay. But
yeah, and yet the two of them were out the back at the time. They were left second and third off the second bend. Yeah.
I started looking back to try to figure out what happened, and I stopped even looking.
Do you know what? Let's just talk about the winner then. Tommy, nice dog, just little thing, a really nice mover. Has it all. Has a decent to the corner. He's good down the back, and he gets to the line. He's just one of those dogs where I say 550-yard dog because against the real 525-yard early gears, he's not going to be leading them. But if he stays with them, he is enough to beat them home.
Yeah, well, yeah, he he probably needs to accelerate the first two bends a little bit better, in the sense that there'll be better dogs around him. I thought Mind How You Go, who was in trap one, I think maybe only having the second run, showed a lovely bit of acceleration in along the inside from about fifth into a challenging position at the bend. Actually, now as Paul says, there was bumping going on and wherever else, and unfortunate.
There's coursing pedigree in his dam side, isn't there, Paul? Dark Vanity goes back to I think it's one of the Kyle James or something like that, a couple of lines back, but it showed good early speed, has sprint form in its card, and it was probably its presence that caused a bit of the bother.
Well, it just showed a bit of acceleration, and get along the inside. It was like this was coming up the inside. The six dog was on the outside. The three, it was in the middle, and there's something had to happen, unfortunately, and it did. But after that, Jack's little thing was quite impressive. It's probably not a lot to say about the heat in many ways. It strode out well from halfway. You're probably right. It's probably a 550 dog. It just needs to tidy up a couple of little things in its style of running, and it'll develop into a proper sort.
Yeah, we've got 13 heats done, Paul. It's a great competition now. I hate to use the word the dead wood, but we've lost a lot of the dogs that didn't look like they could ever win a Kirby. It's really tight from now on in. Like when you're down to the 48, things really start to get serious.
Yeah, they do. And look, only one of them can win it anyway. But like there's a lot of dogs left there still that I would say can't win. And look.
No, that's fine. We can.
We do that every week.
Yeah, there's 40. There's actually 47 of them that won't win. You know that.
Yeah, well, you have plenty of dogs left now that can affect dogs who could win it.
Yeah.
You have the likes of
Scott O'Mara, the adamant dog, those types.
You have the likes of like Ronnie. Even when Ronnie doesn't lead up, if Ronnie is a length behind one of the early pacers to struggling off the last bend, Ronnie's going to pass him.
Yeah.
You have now. That's a little bit because figure of spoke can go a long way. But like there's a lot of dogs left that can affect the real good ones. And the way the draw is set up now, and I'm not particularly sold on the seeds all being spread out. But anyway, like I can see trouble enough for inside runners in this, and I can see the seeds really having a small bit of an advantage here going forward.
Yeah, we have 8 heats. We won't get a chance to look at them now at this stage, lads. We've got 8 heats. 7 of the first 7 obviously have a single seed, and the last one has a double seed. And looking at the double seed, all about Ted and Stone Park Leo. They should be fine with their draw. If I had to put you on the spot, Paul, is there one one of the leading fancies that you're going to name as a Kirby winner, and give me one as an outsider?
Yeah, well, I'm not going to be original with my Kirby winner.
Explosive Boy.
Yeah, I trusted 100% what he done the other night. I expected it to happen. I think he's in absolute best hands for an early pacer. He's going to have to try win it like Benteke's Baco, from the front. And
every night.
So the thing about it, and the most heartening thing for an Explosive Boy supporter, is Benteke's Baco's fastest finish and split winning the Kirby was 12:33, and Explosive Boy done 12:21 coming home the other night. You can't pass a dog with his early that's doing 12:21 coming home. You just can't.
Yeah.
That's so like it's rock solid what he done the other night. Not saying he's going to do it 4 more times in a row.
No, but he doesn't have to improve. He just has to maintain. And if he maintains,
has to do the same.
And he's in the right place, as you've said already.
Yeah, but look, if he ends up in the quarter final with Sing Along Sally and he's right, and he's in 1, or they're in 2 and 3, or 3 and 4, like that could be curtains for Explosive Boy. So the draw is going to be massive here, because there's an awful lot of dogs that want the rails that can end up in top 5 now.
Yeah.
That's why I don't like the spreading the seeding deliberately. I just, it's just, I can see an awful lot of trouble for inside season. The draw becoming absolutely imperative going forward.
Mm-hmm.
So like calling a winner now, my outsider 125 to 1 before competition. I've already mentioned him, Racket Hall Leo. I think he's a natural improver at his size.
And he's going to have his draw.
It's not even his draw, but I don't know that he's a trap 6 runner, but everything inside him is going to be a rails runner. So it's going to work fine. He's a big size of a dog, natural improver, handled with care. From a really good litter. 125 to 1 has been taken. If it's, I don't know, I didn't even check see what it is now because I'm not interested. But if he's a big price, Racket Hall is your outsider.
No problem. Tommy, your likely winner. Or, well, likely winner is the wrong term, but your prediction for a winner and an outsider.
I'm willing to take on Explosive Boy just based on the fact that it's 5 to 1. No, I think that's quite short considering it's still a 48 dog competition. It's still effectively most competitions are already starting now, and it's reasonably short. Now, I'm not doubting that Pat Kilfoyle can get this dog to continue to produce massive runs, but it's going to heat up. There's probably going to be a track record along the way. In fact, I'd say that's fairly certain. A sing-along Sally has a great draw next week, so you'd imagine she'd qualify. She's around about 8. Deadly Destroyer probably has to improve a bit. Ballymacashos has the ability. I think at the prices, you probably have to think that Romeo Magico at 16 to 1 is overpriced at the moment. Now, has a tricky enough draw out in Trap 5. Well, it's Trap 5 next week, but that's not that tricky a draw in the sense that it doesn't look an extremely hot heat. You have Droopy Fittest in there. It's only about qualifying next week. You don't have to worry about winning. I would be concerned about Ballymac Area qualifying next week. She's got a tricky draw.
Yeah,
and she's probably got to improve 5, 6 lengths.
Seeding is offer.
Yeah, she's got to, but she's out. But she's drawn out in what is she out in 5? Is it?
Out in 5, yeah.
Yeah, I think if you had to pin me to 2 bets now, the only 2 I would back because I think they have 2 different styles of running, and I think they both qualify. Romeo Magico and Ballymacashos. As much as I think he's going to frustrate me, I'd give him one chance to do that.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. Well, lads, there's nothing more to add because I'm not going to go into those waters. I don't have to. I'm the one asking the questions. All I know is that if I had to pick, I think the right 3 are there in terms of Explosive Boy, Ballymacashos and Ballymac Ariel. I think they're 3 exceptionally talented greyhounds, and I look forward to seeing them. And I'd hope that they'd clash later on in the competition because that'd be something worth waiting for. Of the outsiders that caught my eye, I really did like the Vipers Buzzdog. I thought he ran an absolute blinder. He's probably not an outsider now. I haven't had a chance to look at the outright prices, but he could certainly run well. Just don't be surprised if Coulivanny Lily just upsets a few people in the next few weeks because I think she has a massive engine. I really liked her the other night. For Noel Hare, who definitely has a bit of experience in this Kirby. He's a very talented handler. Anyway, lads, that was great. We have a lot to look forward to. Paul, I'm jealous you've been based down that part of the world. I'd say there's a lot of talk of the Kirby at present.
Oh, the Nina Guardian is just going to explode now.
Wall to wall Kirby.
We're even claiming we have Rigney, he's Rack Cabin, so we have all about Ted as well. We have Explosive Boy, we have Racket Hall. So the Guardian. That was the Guardian, and by best, as the locals cause a racket in Kirby. That was the headline this week. But look, we're loving it, and we're all Guildfile fans in around here. He keeps us going, for in our catchment. He keeps us going in the top competitions. But very exciting with to have Liam McGrath inside with a proper hound. Yeah.
A proper hound is great. Win, lose or draw, lads. We'll see an awful lot of these dogs in the future. Even the dogs that were knocked out. We've seen Derby winners knocked out in the opening round in the past, and that could well be the case this year. There's no saying that it won't happen, because history suggests it can happen.
We know that kind of crack is going to happen, but it's also there's one point I'd like to just say about the Kirby. At this stage, we're gone these few years now, and yes. We always talked about earlier, it's a stepping stone. We catch these dogs young. They're all going to go on and shape the sport for 2 years. Yes, they are. But the Kirby now is the destination. This is career defining for a trainer, an owner, a dog. Yes, they're going to race after this. It's not the end of their days. But this is destination point A. We do an awful lot of talking about, this fella will appreciate Shelburne, or, this fella will go well in the 600 and that. This is the gig. Yeah. The Kirby is the gig. This is destination point A.
To back up that point, Tommy, the odd time someone will ring you and go, listen, I'm looking for a Derby dog or I'm looking for a Kirby dog. That's the 2 you get suggested these days. Someone will say to you, listen, I'm looking for a Kirby dog. Where back in the day it was like, I'm looking for a Derby dog. But you do get men ringing and say, I'm looking for a Kirby dog if you see something.
You want to check about this big?
I don't think it fits in the screen, Tommy. It doesn't fit in the screen.
No, not a chance. You're joking me.
Listen. For those of you watching at home,
Barry was right. Go to y'all, buy a Derby dog there.
Yeah, for those of you watching at home, you do want to buy a dog. Listen, you can always try if you're willing to spend a few quid. Get onto these men because whether they want to sell the dogs or not, they'll always listen to you, and you never know your luck. Isn't that right, Paul? If you throw your hat in the ring, you might get your hands on one.
I can't afford them, and I think I got to get to breed them because it ain't happening. I told you I'm going in there tonight with 2 graders. It ain't happening, Ian. It ain't happening.
Right. Well, as it seems, Paul is going out looking for a pot of gold at the end of a rainbow. But that's it for this evening on Talking Dogs on a Monday. I hope you've enjoyed it. It's been a long one. It was a lot to digest, and we'll have plenty to look forward to again next week on Talking Dogs on Monday. Don't forget, a big weekend in greyhound sport. We have the second round of the Con Annie Kirby Memorial. That really is the big show in town. Of course, at Shelbourne Park, the Shelbourne Open 600 kicks off. And down in Cork, we have the Greyhound and Pet World Super Sprint. Great sponsorship, great competitions, really star names in that sprint. And of course, don't forget, Talking Dogs TV will be back in your screens on Saturday night, and you can now buy your passes for that. But that's it for this evening. Best of luck for those of you left in the Kirby. Best of luck again. Enjoy it. It's going to be a few great weeks to look forward to. Lads, thanks very much for joining us today.
Thanks, Ian.
Good luck and God bless.